Welcome back everyone to the long-awaited sequel to my Thomas and the Magic Railroad video. This is how I built Lady. Before we begin, I just wanted to say we hit 1,800 subscribers. Thanks everyone, so please subscribe if you're new and let's get back into the video. Lady is the epitome of obscure characters, barely even having screen time in her own movie. Well, at least with a face. A magical tank engine that runs on a so-called magic railroad and is taken care of by Burnett Stone. Now, I'm not really going to go into Magic Railroad as a whole, but this was basically it for her story. We got some brief moments of her with a face and barely any lines. However, she always stuck with me for some reason. Lady is visually quite different to everyone we saw prior. She's golden and purple of all colours, and this makes her quite a striking character, despite not being seen much. I had the take-along as a kid and cherished her because she always felt so special amongst the others, and I feel that's quite unique to her. I will say though, her translation into Ertl was mid at best. How shocking. I feel like I'm constantly bashing these models, but I really do appreciate everything Ertl gave us. That's why I've decided to make my new Ertl's Best series, so go check out my new episode on Murdoch. Shameless plug aside, I think the main issue with Lady is that, quite frankly, she's huge. This always confused me in a way. They specially made larger wheels for her rather than adapting the original smaller wheels. And what's with the large plastic block representing her side rods? This could have easily been like the others, I just never really understood this. Also, in general, the colours they chose are a bit interesting. The brown running board doesn't do her many favours. Her vibrancy is totally eliminated here. However, I do want to say that overall the mould for the body shell is really nice, and all of the details are accounted for. That's why she's perfect to make into a HO scale model, and I think most of the gripes with her I have are towards the chassis and the running board. Anyway, enough of her. Sorry, Lady. On to the star of the show. Lady was a build that I wasn't sure if I could actually accomplish, and as much as I like the finished product, there are actually still some things that I couldn't resolve fully. My major goal was to make Lady smaller, so I started with making the new pieces out of card, but my first attempt was nearly the same. I ended up having to cut down the cab and the running board. I eventually cut down the boiler too because it was too long. The boiler was made with a cut down paper towel roll glued together. This was then covered with paper and a piece of card cut for the front. Before moving further, I started making the chassis. It's a simple shape similar to Toby's, a piece of card with two cut triangles for the wheels. This was then filled with a thin strip of card in the middle, and the wheels were secured in with another piece on top. One thing that always bothered me about the original Lady was literally how massive the wheels were. Like, why? Just to compensate for her massive scale. How strange. So I really wanted Lady to have the same wheels as all of the other engines. Anyway, some rounded card pieces were glued on as pistons. Truthfully, these should have been more square, but I don't think I realized at the time. Oops. Assembled, it looked good, but I put it next to Thomas and was still disappointed with the scale. She was much better, but not small enough. But if I made her smaller, she would have been like too small, you know? This gave me a lot to think about. I ended up actually leaving Lady for a few months in this state. However, I finally decided to work on her after so long. She deserves better. I ended up deciding to just go with it and hope for the best, and I'm glad I did too. First up was fixing the issues I had with her. I ripped off the side tanks and used clay for them. A different method, but a fun one to be honest. I also used this to make the funnel, dome, and they were shaped around wooden skewers. This was let dry and sanded down. The whole thing was covered in a white coat of paint, and I made the side rods. These were inspired by later Ertls like Murdoch and Spencer, rather than that horrible chunk of plastic like the original. Two thin pieces of card glued on top of each other with a smaller piece on the end. I also made the coupling and the front of the running board. Now, I thought I was happy, but something still seemed off with her. I realized her smoke box was way too long. So using my knife, I whacked the front off and filled it back in. This was a bit nerve-wracking, but it helped so much. I would end up covering it in more paper to smooth it over, and I really like it. Finally, I was able to paint it. I mixed a brownish purple based on the real Pantone color samples they used for her. It took a few coats, but in the meantime, I re-glued the funnel on and used paper to smooth the tanks again. I think I've said this before, but when painting engines like these with acrylic paint, you need to be very gentle and slow. Just use thin watery coats and take your time. If you use too thick of a coat, it will just come out streaky. And especially on a small scale like this, it's not good. Following was the running board in a darker purple. So, in this girl's never-ending pain, I got sick to the roof and ripped it off. It just made it easier to paint inside the cab. Okay, and on to the next issue. Jeez. So, the gold I had was just too yellow, and I honestly hated it. I decided to just mix a golden yellow shade and use that instead. Yes, it's not metallic, but I like it better. I filled in all the pieces and did the lining by hand. Surprisingly fast, actually. I didn't want to have to mangle the tape all around the tiny shapes, so freehand it was. I realized I actually forgot to film the buffers and the lamps. I think, honestly, I was just fed up by the end. The buffers were pretty standard, just hole punch card on Q-tips and painted yellow. You can find these in most of my custom engine videos, so go there if you want a better look. The lamps were a bit fiddly, but it was the same method I'd also used before on Thomas. A circle cut card with a straight piece behind and a small base. The back lamp was just a little circle that was made out of clay, and it was stuck on the back and painted. After gluing the roof back on, I honestly thought she deserved a little bit more. So I made very basic cab details and glued it in. And I painted a figure to look like Bernadette Stone. I used the model references that we got from the recent Brit Allcroft auction, and I was really happy with it. The final dilemma was her name. I actually left this one off as I could not freehand that. And to print it out, I think it would just look a bit clunky. Maybe one day I can get a transfer or something, but I'm pretty happy just leaving it blank for now. I don't think you really notice. With the gloss coat, she was done. And I won't lie, I'm pretty happy with the final result. For a project that gave me so many issues, I do love how she came out. I do wish she was a teeny bit smaller, but honestly, I can do with that. She's not going to be seen with many characters anyway. Seeing how vibrant she is really makes me look at the official model and see the missed opportunity. I feel like she may have actually sold better if she wasn't so dull. So here she is against the original lady, and I think she turned out to be a lot better scale-wise. Let me know what you guys think. For filming, I actually put a small weight in her cab because she's a little bit light, but she rolls pretty well, and the side rods don't interfere much. I'm thinking I'm going to have to get a capsule play rail face so she fits in better. But honestly, that's not a priority for the moment. She can just be faceless. I think that's all I can really say for this one. I just want to say happy 25th anniversary to Thomas the Magic Railroad, and I can't wait what we get for it soon. Thanks, everyone. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. I just want to say thank you again for 1,800 subscribers. You all have been so kind for the support. Maybe we can reach 2,000 by the end of the year. That would be amazing. Anyway, you all voted for Spencer to be next in line for Ertl's Best, and that will be starting soon. It may not be the next video, but it will be coming in the next few weeks. So I do have another few models in store for you, so keep an eye out. Thanks everyone. Have a good one, and I will see you all later. Bye.